Does anyone else feel like they can literally conquer the world when they get a new notebook? I got these two yesterday from Cezanne, and I will leave a link to the two brands, but I just wanted to show you my usual stationery setup that I use to like organise. So I always have my journal, which contains the thoughts of a crazy person. Unfiltered, uncensored madness is what fills this one. And then I always have a project book specifically for like work stuff, so where I plan out vlogs, Substacks, book stuff, all that kind of thing. And then I really like these like desktop planners. I really like this vertical format, and I love that you just, you know, you tear away 1 week or you save it, depends what you want to do. Yeah, I find these really useful for planning out my days. It's very satisfying. So in case you're a stationery fanatic too, I thought I'd just share that with you. Also got this from Cezanne, which they gave me. It's so cool. It's like their personal guide to Paris, and they split everything up into different sections and given their recommendations for like walks, cafes, things like that. So there's one on here. Yeah, I'm this sort of area. There's like a little cafe here, which is just down the road from where I live. So I think I'm gonna try that. But yeah, definitely gonna work my way through this. So thank you, Cezanne. Welcome to our new office. It is literally too hot for us to be in our apartment in the afternoon. So this little spot between the trees right here, which you get this lovely, can you see like there's trees either side, so you get this really lovely like through draft in the Jardin de Luxembourg, has become our afternoon space, our new office, and we kind of love it. It's been an interesting autumn, and by autumn I mean in terms of menstrual cycle, so like the last phase before you go into winter, before you menstruate. So I've had all the PMS lately, and let me know if you are the same. But during that time I crave nature for one, which is why I think I've been going to the Jardin de Luxembourg so much, though I like nature all the time, and that is the difference between where I was living now versus where I am, between where I was living versus where I'm living now, is that's the massive jar, like the lack of nature. And I've been thinking about how to find nature and be conscious of it and present with it in a city.
But yeah, these last few days in particular, alongside the PMS, has been a real deep craving of nature. So I've really been trying to lean into that. And then the other thing that I find, and this is very woo-woo, bear with me, or not, you might be as into this as I am. I did a guided visual meditation with my friend Claire Baker, who I've talked about so much in terms of periods, menstrual cycle. Like, she's magical to me. Like, she is incredible. And we did this visual guided meditation through my menstrual cycle. So we went through the 4 phases: the winter, spring, summer, and autumn. And yeah, I saw some pretty freaky stuff. There was a lot of crying. It was like an out of body kind of experience. Incredible. Highly recommend it if this is like, lighting a fire within you. And in the autumn phase, in that kind of PMS phase, I saw a mirror. So I saw myself in front of a mirror, and I felt like I was pulling myself apart during that phase. And that's what PMS can feel like for me. And yeah, so the autumn, it feels very confrontational, I would say. That PMS time, I feel like so much comes to the surface for me, and it can be a lot to deal with, a lot to sit with. I don't really like it. I don't feel peaceful. I feel very stressed, very anxious, very confronted, conflicted, all that kind of stuff. But in saying that, and this is what Claire says, that phase is very important, and those things that are thrown to the surface during that time are very, very important to pay attention to. And that's what I've been trying to do. And one of the things that's really come to the surface for me is how in moving, and it's only, I've talked about this before, how I'll do something a little bit nuts, like, okay, Jess, you want to move to Paris? We'll move to Paris, it's fine. Like, I'm in my fantasy world, I'm in my head, and I'll just it's sort of just happened. It's just happened. Now I'm here, and Hope's here, and I'm like, oh, I've moved to Paris. I live here now. This is weird. I'm not just here for a month. Like, this is actually real. And it's like everything kind of feels like it's locking down. And I start feeling worried and anxious and stressed, and I'm hanging on to things, and I've got narratives playing in my head. I've got all the questions. And I think it was Dolly Alderton who said that her therapist told her that we are never more vulnerable than when we are in a transition. So when we're in a period of change. And I've very much felt that. And let me know if that resonates with you as well. But one of the things that has happened that I knew was going to happen to an extent was that this community has shifted a little bit. So people have felt very opinionated about my move on YouTube, especially on Instagram as well. And also, people who have been, people follow people for all sorts of different reasons, as you'll know, you'll follow people for all sorts of different reasons. And I know that one of the reasons a lot of people liked to follow me was because of my English countryside lifestyle. Like, that's been a massive part of my life, of my content, of my inspiration for a really long time. And in shifting away from that, in moving, I have lost subscribers, followers, people who, were here for that kind of stuff. Fair enough. It's completely fine. What I didn't expect, and what's been really interesting, and I'm going to be honest, is how much it has jarred me and bothered me, and how much it has thrown up my abandonment stuff. And especially these last few weeks, I kind of sat with it and been like, oh, you you really care? Because I'm not one who, I'm not a creator who like actively has, graphs and charts and follows the growth and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's been a bit like, oh my God, what does this mean? Why is this bothering me? But it has, but I think that's a really good thing. And what it took me back to is when I left my house, when I left my marriage, just before I went, and I've talked about this before, again, being honest, it went through my head, you can't leave because this is why you film your videos. This is your work. This is your studio, effectively. And if you leave, you're not going to be able to have the same kind of lifestyle that you did before, and everyone's going to unfollow you. Like that kind of stuff really went through my head, and I caught myself doing that, and I had to have a word with myself and be like, oh, okay, like I get where that's coming from, but no, we don't do that. We don't live our lives like that. And yet I can see how I have lived my life like that, because this recent shift with the move and the change in audience and stuff has thrown all of that stuff up again. And it's really made me think about how I want and need to let go of the outcome. And it's reminded me of a piece of writing by one of my favourite writers. I never know how to pronounce her name properly though. Brianna Weist. I think it's Weist, not sure. And I'll leave a link to it. I'll try and put it up. Actually, it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of writing, and it's about how your new life is going to cost you your old one. So she talks about how it's going to cost you, your comfort zone, potentially friends. I don't know, in my case, like subscribers, work stuff, whatever, money maybe. And yeah, I've really been sat in that, and I'm really interested to hear what your experience is of that and how you've tackled that, and whether you've ever noticed yourself keeping yourself small, keeping yourself diluted for fear of what you might lose in the present moment. And what I've been thinking so much is that is such a lack mindset for me to be in. And I've kind of been blind to it. And I think subconsciously, because I have the belief that, our subconscious is waving a little flag for us, and we are being guided into these situations so that we can thrive as our best version of ourselves, and we can evolve, because our subconscious, from like an existential point of view, wants us to really, really thrive and evolve. And I really think that these big dreams, goals, ideas that we have are designed to throw us into the chaos to figure out. And in doing that, we have no choice but to let go of what is now. And when you have abandonment stuff, when you have that real fear of abandonment, it just highlights it, and it feels, those feelings are so intense, and you feel so much more sensitive to them. But like I said, I think that is such a lack mindset to have, because it assumes that you've got everything that you need and want in the now, and you're hanging on to that outcome. Whereas what if, and I have gone into this mode of like, I haven't gone into a panic over it. I'm leaning into it. I'm like, okay, people are going to go, that's fine. But what about the people who might come as, a consequence of such a big shift? And I think that works it works in small ways, but it works in big ways as well. Like, you might have to sacrifice some income for changing your job, career, starting a new business in the short term. But what about the long term? What about if you have to let go a little bit in the now to gain so much more in the future by letting go and just following? I've talked before about how I feel like these last few months I have been almost operating on autopilot. Like it's been my job to just fill in the paperwork, and my intuition is kind of just guiding me in all these completely unexpected, often in my mind nutty, but also really exciting changes and experiences. Like, what if that is how we're supposed to live? Following what feels right, like right here, and here as well. And yes, that's really, really scary. And we're always going to come up with a million reasons as to why we potentially shouldn't do that. But that is the way that we're meant to go. And in trusting that, in letting go of what we think the outcome is going to be, what it has to be in order for it to be right, in order for us to be right, and just living from a place of being. That's the kind of stuff that I'm sitting with at the minute. And I wanted to share that with you because I think the whole narrative of, English girl moves from the English countryside to Paris can be so romanticized and fairy tale like. And I'm guilty of making it look that way, because that's my natural way. That's how I like to live life. I like my life to feel like a novel most of the time, which yes, isn't realistic, but that's me. That's who I am. But I want to share this with you because I want to be honest about the struggles that I am in doing that, in choosing such a drastic change. And I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and again, I'm really interested to know if you can relate to this. But I said I'm on a real roller coaster at the minute. I can feel really high, and then I can feel really, really low. And she said to me, what are the highs saying to you, and what are the lows saying? And which was such an incredible question for her to ask. And what I noticed was the highs, when I replied to her message, they were in my voice. They were in the first person. So it was like, I'm in Paris. Possibilities are endless. I feel really inspired. I'm excited. This is amazing. This is everything I always wanted to do when I was younger, but never felt like I could. Really good, positive things. And the lows were in the you voice. So they were, you don't know what you're doing. This isn't going to work out. Who do you think you are? All those kinds of inner critic thinking. And yeah, it made me realize that the inner critic wasn't my voice. It was you. It was someone else talking to me. And then I started to realize who those voices were, because I recognized them. And then to go even further, I recognized that those voices are in pain. Those are my most vulnerable parts that are in pain. Of course, those parts of me, those parts of us, and again, please tell me if you relate to all of this. I'm really, really interested. Those parts of us, the vulnerable parts that are in pain, of course, are going to be terrified when we do things that are scary. And living a life that is true to who we are, making big changes, is very, very scary. So I think it all makes a lot of sense. But I think it's a good thing, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to playing with. Like the YouTube subscriber thing and the Instagram following thing, those spaces were always really fun for me in the beginning. And as audiences grow, the abandonment stuff starts to show up, and I tend to feel very seen, which I kind of want, but I'm also afraid of. And I find myself diluting. I remember when I first started this channel, like, must be like 3 years ago now. I started it because I was really inspired by Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon, Zoe Sugg and Matty Habuja, and I binge watched their videos over Christmas and thought, I want to see what I can bring to that space. I want to see what I can create with video. Like, I just wanted to create and have fun. And I remember, if you watch my very first video, I kind of come on like, welcome to my YouTube channel. Like, you know, it's just so unknown, but it was fun because I wasn't attached to the outcome. Nobody was watching. It was just this fun space where I could start over without all the Instagram audience. And I know a lot of people feel like this. I have a friend who has like over 500,000 subscribers on Instagram, followers on Instagram. And she's told me before, like, she's terrified of it. She is terrified of her own Instagram account. And I think when we have that outcome, that narrative of like, we start attaching who we are to maybe that number of followers, that audience, that being our job, it's really hard to be ourselves and create freely. And this is what's come out of all this autumn, looking in the mirror, self-doubt, yada yada. And I'm just done with it. I'm really, 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 really done with it. And I'm really grateful that I have made this decision, that I've stepped away from what was comfortable, that I'm trying something new, that I'm wanting to grow, evolve. And I'm doing that in a way that is following my intuition, my gut, what feels right, what feels exciting. And yeah, I think it's a really, really good thing. It's a good experiment, and I'm determined to just go even further with it. Like, sometimes I do feel like I need to water myself down because I'm scared of people, like getting cancelled, getting written off because I've built an audience. And it's silly. It's really, really silly. Like, sometimes I'll just want to say fuck on camera, and I'll think, oh, no, don't say that. You might upset someone. You might offend someone. You have to, appear to be a certain way. And now I'm like, fuck it. Like, just be yourself. If you want to say that, if you want to do that, then do that. It's okay. And if people don't like it, if people want to leave, that's fine too. You're not for them. Why do you want people around you who don't, not necessarily like, but, appreciate the real you? So that's, yeah, I wanted to share that with you. I want to know if you relate to that in your life, in the diluting yourself, and just let you know that I'm feeling that too. I feel very much in that. But moving forward, I'm going to be experimenting with really letting that go and creating and living from a place of being instead of thinking and hanging on to the outcome and the narratives, and seeing where that takes me. Hope is so much happier now. It's a little bit cooler. I just wanted to show you around our local
area so that you can see this new life. We've traded our old one in for. She seems to have settled in really, really well. She's just been sleepy, but I think that is because of the heat. Today it's a little bit cooler. She's been chasing pigeons around and yeah, having a lot of Paris fun. I'm not sure if you can tell. Hopefully you can't, because I did ask for it to be super, super natural. But at the beginning of this week, last week, had my lips blushed. Something else that I can get so nervous about talking about on vlogs and stuff, and I'm just so done with it, because I know like some people have this opinion that, oh, you can't be into slow living and intentional living and into, you know, beauty and cosmetics and that kind of thing. It's like, yes, you can. You can be into as many different things as you want. It doesn't make you any less into, you know, one of those things like screw the rules. But yeah, so if you don't know what that is, because I had like absolutely no idea. Sorry, there was someone there and I just thought that's the only person that you'd be able to hear. Yeah, so if you don't know what that is, I had absolutely no idea. If you remember, if you've watched the vlogs for a while, I had my eyebrows microbladed, and it's basically semi-permanent tattoo. So it's like one less thing that you have to think about, which I'm a real fan of, because I am not good with the makeup stuff. I'm not good with the lipstick stuff. So the less I have to do to make myself feel put together, the better. Yeah, when I first had them done, they were like, it looked like I'd had a lot of filler in there. They swelled up so bad. But now it just like the shape's defined, and it just looks like I've got a really natural lipstick on. So I'm super, super pleased with that. I'll leave a link to the lady that did it in case you are also interested. Caveat, by no means am I promoting anything like this. I'm just telling you what I've had and that I'm pleased with it, because I like to know when other people have this. Doggy play. So cute. I am also very, very excited, lips aside, I'm very excited. I have decided to run a summer creative writing class on Substack. I've been writing on Substack for a year now, and as part of the 1 year celebration, I am giving, well, there's a 20% discount on all subscriptions. So if you have been thinking of signing up to Substack to read all my stuff and access the community on there, we do live events, threads, community chats, and there's access to absolutely all of my writing. Now's a really good time to do it. And yeah, I'm going to run a creative writing class over the summer, which I'm super, super excited about. It's a 4-module thing. I'll leave a link in case you want to go and have a look at it and sign up, and hopefully I will see you there.